Ugh.
Yeah. Okay. Think we're I think we're live. Yeah. So I have so much to catch you up on, Billy. But let's I guess start with what were your thoughts on Kush's stream? Like I actually got interviewed this time. I was not the one doing the brain picking. I feel
um,
like I've been doing that a lot.
Kush does great interviews. He keeps them structured. He's got good questions. He keeps the
Yeah.
time frame. Um, all in all, a good stream.
Yeah.
I think I was sort of jumping in and out, so I didn't watch it in its entirety. But you'll know when I'm there because I'll be chatting in the chat box. So if there's a gap and I'm not leaving any comments, that's probably when I kind of buggered off for a bit. Um, but I remember the question or the query about why isn't there more people like you who
Right.
stand against the indoctrination, even on a level, like the family unit. Like, why is it you can have a unstable family dynamic going on? You know, you've got siblings and other kind of members,
Mhm.
and there is the so-called black sheep or the scapegoat or the deviant or the rebel or the infidel. Or why is
Yeah.
it you can have such a person? How is it they're not? They are broken, but how is it they're not brainwashed and falling in line in conformity with the the family's what will become the family's dirty little secret.
Right.
And there's a couple of reasons for that. The comment I left was look into crowd psychology and you'll find a fairly good answer. But even before you do that, firstly, um, one of the reasons why you won't hear is because their voices are drowned out. They have a role to play. They're the black sheep. They're meant to take all the blame and shame of the family. So they're not
Yeah.
really allowed to be speaking up. They'll be discredited even before they've even had a chance to speak up. They've already been discredited, smear campaigned. Other people have been warned, um, and so and typically, if the person who has who's been allocated this role of carrying the family's dirty secret, the
Right.
black sheep,
Right.
you know, they've been conditioned and they're young. So there's a lot of fear as well. They're on their own. Um, they fear the repercussions. They fear they've already been punished in a way, and they fear even more severity. So there are to Cush's question, like why aren't there more? Well,
Mhm.
there is more. It's just you don't hear about them because they suffer in silence. They know
Right.
deep down inside them that something isn't right here, or I
Mhm.
don't agree with this, or I don't like this, but they keep it to themselves.
Right. I think because a lot of it's embarrassing.
Embarrassed.
Because I know like when there's been times where I've like shared bits and pieces to my story, it's like people people that just can't fathom that kind of a situation. They're just like, oh my god, I'm so sorry. And my initial response is, why are you sorry? For one, you weren't there.
Yeah.
For two, like that shit's like in the past. Like I'm not saying this to get any kind of sympathy, but it's like when I see people do that, it's almost like a programmed response. Like they're supposed to say that, and therefore it's not even authentic. It's not an authentic response.
Um, y- Shocking. Like I haven't got a statistic for this,
Mm-hmm.
but if you look at and I'm using the narcissistic model here, but
Mm-hmm.
if you take a narcissistic family structure, um, then technically there will always be a member within that family. Not always, don't take me literally on this, but that will
Mm-hmm.
be allocated this black sheep role.
Right.
So however many families there are on the world in the world or in the United States in your case,
Mhm.
then that means there is a black sheep. It's just
Yeah.
it's just for whatever reason, like because you mentioned the embarrassment. I mean, yeah, there's
Mhm.
shame, there's guilt, because
Guilt.
the
Yes.
amount of pressure that is on this black sheep, because they
Right.
know all the dirty little secrets, and
Yeah.
they might not quite have the articulation or wherewithal to understand what's going on,
Hmm.
um, but they can feel it, and over time, if unfortunately they might come to a belief which is like, well, I guess this is just how life is. It's not fair.
Right.
I get picked on, but oh well. I guess no one loves me. So
Mm.
instead of looking at the reasons that it's coming from abusive family members,
Hmm.
now they're having an internal battle with themselves, and their esteem is being attacked and shattered.
Yeah.
And so the black sheep, in a way, silences themselves, and they start blaming them. They think, oh, there must be something wrong with me. I need to go to therapy or whatever.
Right. And then you have the incompetent feminists in the field, like telling, reinforcing the duty to family and, oh, but it's your mother and blah,
So
blah,
the
blah.
black sheep might end up becoming more of a quite literal deviant. So they get into more trouble at school because they can't control
Yeah.
their emotions anymore. They get into addictions, they get into gangs, they get into bad
Right.
behavior, they become crime or a little thief or something.
Right.
And it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah.
Um,
Mm. But going back to what you said about the shame and the guilt, family members would shame and guilt you into accepting all of that responsibility. And I think it takes a certain kind of person to be like, no, I'm not fucking doing it anymore. And then, because you have to disconnect from it completely, which means ultimately that you're alone. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't think a lot of people are willing to do that.
That's right. It does take a breaking point needs to come along for
Hmm.
that separation to really happen.
Yeah.
And that's a fantastic opportunity because that gives the scapegoat a chance at freedom.
Hmm.
However, not only is it like a I don't want to sound like virtue signaling as if like the scapegoat has had the power like to stand up and become fortified and Super Saiyan mode, it's not like that at all.
Right.
It's out of desperation, um, survival necessity,
Mhm.
and not only is it like a level of sort of courage to finally say no to your abusers, who are supposed to be loving family members, in many
Right.
cases.
Right.
This does a hell of a number on your psyche, on your brain. Like, this does not compute. Like, I thought mom and dad loved me, they're going to look after me, but I feel so much pain inside. I can't stand it anymore. I'm out of here. And there is, because the goat has been conditioned like to be somewhat codependent,
Hmm.
um, then to say no is also, like you're saying, like to be alone now is
Hmm.
also another fear.
Hmm.
So
Right. The fear of being alone.
right, so it's a precarious situation because
Yeah.
it's like damned if I do and damned if I don't. If I stay in the family and
Right.
I carry the weight of this family secret and
Yeah.
I endure the pain and suffering, how much more can I tolerate?
Hmm.
And in part is why they'll look for outlets in other areas where like the addictions or bad behaviors or a bad relationship or something like that.
Hmm.
Um, and then the other kind of option is like, okay, so I could turn my back on all that, but now I'm alone and now I feel guilty and ashamed of myself. I've got no self-esteem and I still got these codependency issues.
See, I
That's where the
didn't,
begins.
Yeah, I didn't go through that though. Like when because I remember, I mean, I remember the specific time where I totally called it. Like I was never going to trust my mother again.
So
It was when I lived in Germany and she was supposed to come visit. Like I didn't even want her to come visit, but I wanted to see my younger brother.
well, that's
And she used my younger brother to get me to say yes. And when I went to the fucking airport to pick her up, she had left my brother in another state and he wasn't even there. Like that was the final straw for me. I was like, I am fucking done with this. Absolutely done. Like if you're gonna leave my minor brother in another state, like away from home, he had to get a bus all the way across from New Jersey to Washington. She fucking left him there. I was like, you piece of human shit. Like you used him to like get your foot in my door. No, I'm done. Like
yeah.
I'm done. So I didn't have any guilt with that or shame.
I think in your case,
Yeah.
see the like the saving grace or the sparkle or the slither of hope is whether or not this person, this scapegoat, this deviant or whatever, has some self-esteem.
Yeah.
If you've got self-esteem, it might
Yeah.
be damaged and unstructured and a mess or whatever, but provided you've got something there,
Yeah.
then that will protect you to a certain degree. It will at least stop you blaming yourself.
Yeah, and I think in situations like that, I don't think a lot of people will, because the interjects, the listening to the shitty. Hello, contriver. What are you doing? We're having a one-on-one, sir.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I would just mute and listen.
Okay.
Hey man,
Um, fuck, what was I saying? Oh, the interjects, like coming from an abusive family, like if those things were really, if they were in the way and the person isn't able to, because the scapegoat's typically the most responsible one, right? They have the most competence when it comes to doing stuff. Like
sort of.
that should outweigh the bullshit that comes from the other side. Like if you can block that out, and that I guess that self-esteem would be there.
You've got that battle of cognitive dissonance going on. So you're being told
Yeah.
you're ugly. You got an anger. Usually, a scapegoat has a bit of an anger management issue because they're
Right.
constantly defending themselves, which is a good sign.
Right.
Because it means they have some self-respect and they got some of that self-esteem.
Yeah.
So that pushing back once, particularly as the young boy or girl is growing up and they're learning, now they're getting a bit more independence and they're learning about the real world and things like that. If they've got that self-esteem, that can start turning into a bit of like a righteousness. And the more independence they get, like they got a job, they might start moving out or something, then it becomes easier to be like, you know what, I don't actually need to put up with this abuse from mom and dad anymore, or whoever it is in the family that's doing it.
Right.
They have that kind of, hopefully anyway, like they have that kind of realization. It's like, I'm allowing this to affect me when I don't need to let it happen.
Right.
And if they take it further, they start realizing that, hang on, I'm being used as a punching bag. Now I begin to understand why it's taking place. It's not just because of some weird, they don't like me or something, or they want to blame me. I'm at fault for everything. It's not as simple as that. It's no, there is a function, there is a purpose for why I'm being blamed, or why I'm being shunned, or why I'm not being given love.
Right.
And that's sparking that curiosity and all these different little aspects begin to add together, and is beginning to set that scapegoat really on that path of freedom now, because now they can start to think of themselves and think of their own self-care instead of worrying about the family secret that they're guarding, because that's part of that. The scapegoat feels responsible for the family's reputation. Like, I
Right.
can't tell anyone what I'm going through. Imagine what my family would think of me. It's like, well, that's the problem. That's why you're the scapegoat, because you're being
Right.
responsible for the family's bad behavior.
Right. Yeah.
So it all kind of depends on these sparks of insight when they happen, what sort of order, and what the individual decides to do with them.
Hmm.
And it's a gradual process. You can't do it overnight and expect wonders.
Right.
And usually it's kind of by accident, because they don't have the self-awareness at this point to realize, oh, I need to face my situation with honesty. It's kind of like a last measure, last resort, and that's why it's a very survivalistic response. And accompanying it will be things like the anger, the resentment, the sense of misjustice being carried out. There could be a bit of vindictiveness, especially in the beginning. It could be a lot of sorrow. A grieving process will have to take place,
Mm.
and then at
Well,
some
yeah,
point,
because when you disconnect from something like that, like you're losing something major. Like
to have
you
that
have to
realization,
grieve that.
yeah, it's like, hang on, you're telling me I'm now however old and
Yeah.
my parents never really loved me. That is a bombshell on its own. Like, whoa, I've now passed my childhood. I'm now like an adolescent or an adult, and I've never been loved. I don't even know what love is anymore. So it could really, like, it could send some people, gaga, because they're like, I have no idea, like, my world is completely flipped upside down now, and I have no sense of meaning or understanding. I don't even know what family means. I don't know what love means. I don't know who I am. I've lost my childhood. So it's very. This is why the the, the misfit of the family, fingers crossed, is more likely to go seek help in therapy, or look up information, or become like red pilled or whatever.
Right.
Because this information, if we look at, like, why is it we're so interested in all of this, is
Yeah.
because we didn't have it before.
Right. Right.
And the more we learn about this, the more we share our stories and insights and things like that. Yes, it's good, and build up this body of knowledge, but the better we end up understanding ourselves.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I have a story about. I actually bit my tongue at work yesterday.
Ouch.
Yes, which this specific okay, let me paint this picture for you. Okay, I was with my coworkers.
Oh, I'll be back in a minute. I just hear the doorbell ringing.
Okay, I'll wait then to tell you the story. It has to do with the feminists, though. The feminists that I work with. She keeps talking about black stuff. And this purple-haired lady, she doesn't look black to me, but I guess she's mixed. I don't know. She's from California.
Don't assume her race or
Well,
either her gender.
she's claiming to be black, so she's doing the blackity black stuff.
And that too with you. Of all people.
Right. Yeah. She's the only other woman that I work with. So the rest of the people are men. But yeah, it was really weird. I'm gonna wait till Billy comes back to tell the story though. Because I bit my tongue. I was about to say something and then didn't. And that's not very like me. Must Section 8 Queens. Actually, I don't think she'll ever have any children. So she said she's cool with being an aunt.
There is a relationship expert named Adam Lane Smith. You would hear this name quite often, and that too in the United States of Amnesia. Uh, no, no, no. I'm being very honest with you. He's a
Oh, I know.
relationship expert and a matrimonial counseling expert.
Hmm.
He's a licensed therapist, if I'm not mistaken. He has his own website, adamlanesmith.com or something.
Mm-hmm.
He he tweeted that male depression. He was talking about depression in the sense clinically psychoanalyzing it. He said that male depression is a result of unlearned helplessness, but females of the world treat it just like male but the clinical psychologists, actually, yes, he is the one. And he said that all the psychologists in the world, all the psychiatrists in the world treat it just like female depression and tell men and make men feel loved instead of being powerful. So they
Hmm.
are literally not helping men.
Right.
So he's the your go-to man. If you want to follow him on Twitter, or if you want to, uh, get any sort of guidance in your field of activity regarding clinical psychology and everything, he is a man who has been in the field for more than 15 years, quite successfully.
Hmm.
I mean, he's still a milk toast sort of a man. He doesn't go to the extent of Jordan Peterson to lose his license because he's smart. He's smart in that regard as well. So he does only things via matrimonial counseling, relationship coaching, or things like that. So he would be able to achieve the same results without being flamboyant like Jordan Peterson, in a
Hmm.
sense that he's taking a stand and showing his guts and cojones and this, that, and the other. He achieves it in the field of matrimonial counseling. And
The
this is where the
attachment
real
circle.
problem lies. Exactly. I think this is where the problem lies, where you have to go into that field where women are sermonizing men and just pounce on them, because we
Yeah.
know it is going to be Hiroshima Nagasaki style sort of
Right.
mushroom cloud if
Right.
you enter into that.
Yeah.
Billy, are you back? Come on, man, we want to hear
Yeah,
the
man.
story.
I'm here, sir. How have you been?
Okay, I'm
Like a
better than
Friday.
I deserve.
Oh, you always say that.
He always says that.
I
But
plagiarized from Dame Ramsey. Pardon my ignorance.
I hope, you know, you deserve to be better or to feel good.
Yeah. Okay, so
Could you
this,
narrate the story? Yes.
Asking for some
yes.
punishment.
So this story, you have your popcorn? So,
Okay.
okay.
Right in the tongue.
So I'm at work, right? And the situation, there's like 5 people, like 5 of us, kind of standing around chit chatting. And you know those guns, like price guns or whatever, that you can use at stores to check prices. The feminist had one of those, and she pointed it at our supervisor and was like, "Phew!" And she's like, "Ha! Now you know what it means, what it's like to be black." And 2 of the guys that I work with start cracking up laughing. Now they were black, but I was about to say, and I didn't. What, get having a gun pointed at you by a black person? I almost said it, but I didn't say it because I was like, I don't know how that would be taken. I mean, statistically. But my supervisor was white. He was just kind of stunned that she even said it. And then the 2 dudes were like, seal clapping, because this feminist was doing that thing. But I was like, but I felt myself like stop myself from saying what I thought at that moment. So I can see how people's speech might be they might suppress their speech a little bit in these corporate places. I don't know. It was weird. Like, so random.
Wow.
Like, these dudes never talk about it. And she only works weekends, so she talks about it, though, on the weekends. But just that scenario where she said the thing and then got the applause, I was just like, this is kind of weird.
Yeah. If I was a supervisor, I'd be like, get back to price sticking or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cut that goofy shit out.
Yeah, it was just awkward. I've just kind of been watching, though. Like, I don't really say much anyway, but yeah, see, that's the thing. She's from California. That's where she's from. She's bringing that bullshit to my community. Good morning, hamster. So, yeah. I did say today, though, because apparently there's they're trying to get a bunch of applicants for this supervisor job that's going to be coming open. And one of the supervisors mentioned having his girlfriend apply. So in front of my boss, I was like, what? Like, you're going to hire a chick? And he's like, well, maybe what?
Before you go, just to tack onto that price gun thing. I mean, what I could say,
Yeah,
in a small footnote, is that she's attempting to make the target feel what she feels, and
what she feels.
Yeah,
Miss A&M PhD student. Really?
but, I mean, I don't know if she's ever had a gun pulled on her, but if she hasn't, that makes it even worse, because then she's taking a situation that's happened to other people,
Yes.
claiming it as her own, and is
Yes.
trying to imprint that or
Yeah.
impose it on someone else and be like, "How do you like it?"
Right.
So it's kind of
Right.
tyrannical sort of thing. It's a dickwad of a move to be doing.
I know. I was just like, yeah. I thought it was dickish myself. And stupid. I mean, what was even stupider are the two dudes that fucking laughed about it like it was super funny when it wasn't.
Yeah, that's a little bit of like an icing on the top because
Yeah.
I'm sure black people who have had guns pulled on them don't think it's a laughing matter.
Right.
But there she is trying to make a joke out of it,
Mm-hmm.
and she wants people to take it seriously. Like, I want you to, like, imagine she's trying to make this person imagine themselves being on the receiving end of a pistol being drawn on them,
Right.
but this person is laughing, so it is a bit messed up.
Yeah, I couldn't really gauge whether. I mean, because the two guys were just laughing. I couldn't tell if it was laughing like, wow, what a retard that she would even say that, or laughing at the dude's response, like their boss. Like,
Or is it a polite laugh because it seems like someone is being playful, so we'll just laugh,
yeah.
We don't know why we're laughing. Just, isn't that funny? Hilarious.
Yeah. I don't know.
And also kind of shows you where her head is at. You know, you're going to be like doing work and pricing up, and there you are thinking of racial discrimination and
Exactly.
being shot.
Exactly. This was because this was last night. It was Saturday night.
I mean, I don't know if you have tasers at your workplace, but if someone tased her, like, oops, I thought you pulled out a real gun, I'm sure she wouldn't be laughing then.
This crazy bitch has never been tased in her life. Yeah.
Anyway, you're going on to the next story now. So,
So the potential supervisor candidate being a woman. I did say that there's no way that I'm going to work under a woman. The two dudes that were standing next to me were like, "What?" I was like, "Yeah, dude. No, like I didn't get this job just so like my boss can be replaced by a chick. I'm sorry." And they were just like, that, or one of them said that's so, and then he kind of stopped himself. I was hoping he would finish it, but somebody else started talking. I didn't know if he was going to say racist or misogynist or what, but I was like, yeah, no, I'm not going to work under, like, I'm not going to have a woman over me. Sorry.
It sounds like error. It's like, wait, I can't say that because you're a woman.
Right. 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 Yeah. It was pretty funny though. Yeah. I've been getting quite a few life stories. I don't know why people just want to unload them onto me, but there is one person that is kind of a hostage at the moment. So this crazy bitch worked with him and then wrecked his marriage and then got him to move her and her 3 kids and parents here.
Right. Or like a green card kind of thing.
No. I asked that though. I was like, is she from out of country? Like, and he's like, no, she's from Georgia. So I'm thinking Alice type of people.
used him in terms of like connection, or because he had money or something? Like, could she not have done it herself?
She's mooching off of him because they're together, which apparently they were together, and it wrecked his marriage. So now that they're divorced and she has them all to herself, it's a different story. Now that he's footing the bill for everything, her parents and her 3 kids, and herself. Can you believe that shit?
And how does he feel, or how is he sort of the vibe? Like, is he in pieces? Is he wits
Super
end?
confused. Super confused. Super confused.
Is he trying
Because
to find a
huh?
way out? Is he trying to find a way out of the situation?
Yes, he is.
It's a
Like,
bit of a scramble.
yeah.
Interesting. This is something like, given what you just said, this is like anecdotal, and
Yeah.
given, like, I've heard Kush talk about workers at his place sort of unloading their life stories or, you know, problems that they're having onto him. It's
Yeah.
making me now wonder. So I might have to put out like a questionnaire for those listening or whatever. Do you find that in workplace environments, people who are having struggles in their many forms have a tendency to want to offload that onto co-workers, but in particular co-workers who may appear to have their head on straight?
Well, I kind of started that conversation because it was actually his girlfriend that might apply for that supervisor position. And I said, oh, so I was like, just to let you know, I don't think women should have that position at all. So if your girlfriend actually gets that position, it might be a little uncomfortable for her. And he's like, honestly, I don't even know if she's really my girlfriend. That's how that conversation started. I was like, uh-oh.
Bring her into your workplace.
Right.
Yeah, dodgy stuff. Oh, it seemed like a good idea at the time.
Super dodgy stuff. Well, because you know, he's trying to get her to, like, you know, work and pay for this new truck she had to have that he had to get in his name or something that she said she was going to make the payments on and then didn't. Whole bunch of shit, Billy. He got himself in a fucking mess, big time. Huge. I'm like, how in the hell? That is dumb, dude.
Well, the way things are sounding currently, I mean, there is no bottom of the barrel here at this stage. Like, things,
Right.
it might already be in a mess or in a pickle, or, you know, a tough situation,
Yeah.
but it sounds like it can still get even worse.
Oh yeah. No.
And unless something,
way
you know,
worse.
sort of clarity takes place, that's the sort of trajectory it's heading for.
Yeah. It's gonna get way worse.
I think that's a problem on a societal level.
Yeah.
Because people are like short-sighted and they're not seeing the consequences of actions, and in part there's a sort of disbelief, like, yeah, it'll be all right, you know, or it can't get much worse than it already is. And it's like, oh, that sort of complacency, you know, it will bite you.
Right. Yeah. It's pretty bad. But he has a lot of gut feelings that are very correct in that situation. Like he was telling me just random stuff. I was like, oh yeah, I would follow that if I were you, dude. You need to get out of that situation ASAP. Like, seriously. Because it's what, February? Is it February yet?
No, Wednesday will be February.
Okay. So
And that'll be 1 month of 2023 out of the way. 11
right.
more.
Oh, I know. I'm so glad somebody's dedicating their 2023 to me. Oh my God, Billy. It's like I've been so busy and I kind of check the perimeter, going around and doing my rounds, seeing what the crazy bitches are up to. It's like the same shit.
Yeah.
The same
Yeah.
shit.
Well, it's not really that surprising.
Yeah.
It's like rinse, gargle, repeat.
Yeah. They're terrified of the dictatorship that I am imparting upon the world. The destruction of the tyrannical matriarchy. I think they're getting kind of desperate.
Yeah, I'm kind of getting into a tough situation myself in a way. Like, I've been avoiding wanting to bring up these sort of discussions that like we have and many of us sort of share and talk about.
Yeah.
I've been not wanting to bring it up at my at the school,
Yeah.
but it's getting to like crunch time where it's like, as much as
Yeah.
I don't want to have to, I think I have to now.
Yeah.
So getting ready to sort of confront the headmaster about it and being like, look, there are things going on that I know you don't want to believe, or you want to disregard, or you want to look at me as if I'm a lunatic or something, but like it or lump it, you're gonna have to start taking it on board or something. You're gonna have to hear me out.
Yeah.
Because otherwise the way things are going, because the teachers are having a strike on Wednesday and they think this is a wonderful idea.
Really?
If we go back over here in the UK, we've got the NHS, the medical service, right? During the COVID era, nurses and doctors were complaining. So the government said we should applaud the nurses. So at a certain time, it was like 8 o'clock at night, they were telling people to go outside their house and just start clapping in the street to show your thanks and appreciation to the medical service. I mean, this was for my kid, this was confusing because she was like, Dad, why is everyone out in the street clapping? And I'm like, because they're idiots,
Right.
But you get to see who is woke in your neighborhood. It's like, so and that was a weird thing because it was becoming like a competition. Like,
right.
like
Who can signal the most virtue?
yeah, but also like, those who didn't go outside were made to feel bad about it.
Right.
So the neighbors were watching each other, like, so who's coming out of their house and who's doing it and who's not. So you had this applaud thing going on.
Yeah.
And then some time transpires. Then they start, like, when people are dying from the COVID, there are these videos circulating of doctors dancing on the ward in a synchronized with proper dance routines.
I remember that, the TikToks.
Right. Well, apparently clapping for the NHS or bending the knee turns out doesn't actually fix any problems.
Wow. Really?
Nah, exactly. Like, go figure. So we had, coming now towards more recent time, like during the Christmas that went last month, the Royal Mail decided to do a strike to aggravate people, and as a result, their strike cost the company, the Royal Mail as a company, £2 million.
Oh.
Now the thing is, there is they're in competition with like UPS and FedEx and whoever other delivery services. So the Royal Mail was already on kind of unstable ground. But
like
having
like the United States Postal Service.
right. So these strikes, I don't know, like if they got a pay increase in the end or what, but I know they lost £2 million as a result. Then the nurses went on strike, and there's like negotiation deals going on to try and satisfy them. And because the nurses have a strike, now the teachers want to have a strike. So this Wednesday, my kid's school will be closed because the teachers are having a strike. And there's me thinking, well, they're already trying to get kids online and centralize education.
Yep.
So don't be surprised if teachers start losing their jobs.
Yeah.
Like you want to strike, fine. Don't bother come back to work. We don't need you.
Yeah.
Now I already know that the school and many schools are on shaky ground. Anyway, they're all desperate for funding. Buildings are in need of repair. So quite literally, the buildings are looking to collapse. And to have a strike also sends a message to parents in that it's saying to people like myself that, well, the staff are not happy. We've got upset teachers and they want more. So it doesn't really instill any faith in the institution of schools anymore. What it is doing is telling parents you're going to be better off homeschooling or private schooling. And I heard on the radio, I think last year, to send a kid to private school costs an additional £3,000 odd. This year it's going to be like 6,000, but more people are willing to pay it because private schooling is whatever better or more secure, but it's also more lucrative. And I'm sure from a capitalistic sort of point of view, I mean, if people are always trying to make money and things like that, it would be far more cost effective to shut down the state school and send everyone to private school, make them have to pay for the extra tuition. The NHS are thinking about adding a charge on top. Like as you pay tax, you're paying for this medical service anyway. But they're saying, like, if you go to A&E, in your case, what do you call A&E? We call it accident and emergency. Do you have A&E? The emergency room or something like that?
Oh yeah.
Where the ambulance would go,
Yeah.
You turn up there, you got to pay £66. If you cancel a doctor's appointment or you don't turn up or short notice, then that's like a £10. So they're privatizing medical services, even though you're already paying tax for it. And that's what's going on here in the UK. It's becoming preposterous. It's becoming absurd, and people are being what's the word? Gives it F, like feisted for money. They're being like it's almost like being shanked, I suppose. That like we're being broad daylight robbed, left, right, center.
Right.
Like they're changing we've got a congestion zone in central London. Now they're trying to expand the ULEZ, that's ultra low emission zone, to outside of London. They're trying to break it up into 15-minute cities and all this preposterous ideas to try and discourage people from driving. And there are penalties just flying everywhere. Litigation is through the roof, like, because people, it's hard to adapt to all these changes and not break some kind of new rule or law, something like that.
Right.
Like, it wasn't so long ago that they changed the highway code, and I mean, as a driver, I couldn't really be bothered to update. Like, shame on me, but I was like, bollocks to this. I'm not really. If I see some idiot in the road, I'm just gonna carry on driving as usual. But there's meant to be new procedures on how you're supposed to drive. And then there's also this introduction of, like, you're not supposed to use your mobile phone while driving.
Yeah.
They started to try and refine that, or make it a bit more like you're not even allowed to. I don't even know. I can't. If you've got any device that has some kind of in and out data connection, like it's connected in some way, then you're not supposed to touch it whatsoever. Otherwise, you get a 3 points on your license and a penalty. And I don't know if this is a joke or a meme or whatever, but I saw, like, you could be now fined, given a penalty, if you flash your lights, or if you use your hazard lights, or even if you wave. So I don't know over where you are, but as you're driving, if you want to sort of give someone an acknowledgement, like you're trying to give way to them, you might flash your lights. Like, if someone's crossing the road, you might flash your lights and say, like, it's okay, you can cross the road. Like, I flashed my lights.
Yeah.
Or if you pulled out in front of someone because they can't see your headlights, you might put your hazard lights on to say thank you to the person behind you. Well,
Right.
people are now getting caught out with that because you're not supposed to be doing it.
See here, it's funny. Like, if somebody on the opposite side, like if they pass a cop and they're letting somebody know that there's a cop up there,
Right.
they'll kind of flash their light.
Yeah, we've got that as well. Now, you're not supposed to do that, because this is the funny thing. Like,
Why
the
not?
cops, because you're not. It's like perverting the course of justice. But it's like, hang on, the speed camera or the speed cop car, whatever, the speed van is supposed to reduce people's speed. Now, if people are warning you, like, hey, slow down because there's a cop, further up, isn't
Yeah.
that the same effect? They're but no.
Well, there's an app called Waze that a lot of people will use, and you can actually you can drop a pin where there's a cop or a congestion or an accident, or
we got things like that as well, but
yeah,
they don't like it because it's a source of revenue.
right.
They don't want to admit it, even though
Yeah.
you're helping drivers keep the speed down and thus making the road safer.
Right.
They don't like it because it means they can't give you a ticket.
Right.
But all of what I'm saying basically is, like, at least here in the UK, they're trying to squeeze every penny out of you and make you into a criminal.
Well,
Like,
you
doing wrong.
you have to fund all those women that have those degrees, that have those jobs in the government, Billy. That money has to come from somewhere.
Well, and then they're going to turn around and say, like, we don't get paid enough, we're going to go on strike.
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah. Yeah. Because all these women want more money because they can't even manage their finances.
Well, a lot of people
Actually,
they're getting replaced because more and more
Yeah.
AI. See,
Yeah.
this is the double-edged sword thing. It's like, you demand more money, the
Mhm.
companies don't want to pay you,
Mhm.
or they simply don't have the money to pay you. They have the option now to go robotic.
Yep.
So from a business point of view, it makes sense, and I don't blame them for going AI or going robotic, because you've got these tyrannical, spoiled employees that
Yep.
just give me more money. I mean, it's like,
Yep.
I'm sure if they gave in and gave the teachers an increased pay, would they be any happier? I don't think so. They'll just increase the taxes.
Right.
But they don't see it like that.
You know, this last faculty senate meeting, these professors brought up the raises. A&M's raises, and they brought up the inflation. Oh, because we have this inflation, we're just wondering if A&M is going to be doing anything to kind of try to cushion that blow. Like, it's like, these fucking people voted for all this shit. Now they want A&M to pay them more money because they voted for this bullshit.
It set a bad example, because
Yeah.
if you had the nurses complaining,
Yeah.
and in part maybe because of the COVID thing, they were being overwhelmed.
Yeah.
They were being called frontline heroes. Now I get it. You're at the front line. You've got the skill set and things like that. You're dealing with chaos, like, at first hand. So I get it. You're at the kind of front line, but it's not the same as, say, a war veteran or anyone in the army.
Right.
But they were trying to say that these people are heroes for doing their job. And then that kind of encouraged, like, oh, Royal Mail's like, oh, well, we want more money. And then the teachers it starts setting up a precedence and a trend. So now I'm thinking, who's going to be the next people to want to strike?
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're going to be like, well, everyone else is getting a pay increase. I want a pay increase.
Yeah. See, they should take a note from Kush. They shouldn't get milk and cookies for doing their damn job, for doing what they're supposed to do.
Well, it's like, well, wasn't the round of applause enough? I thought that's what you wanted, a feather in your cap. Like, if I said to the teachers, look, we'll give you. I heard someone on the radio say we need to be more grateful to the teachers because they do more than just teach the children. They form a community and they provide support and assistance and like trying to stretch it out a bit. And it's like, well, I suppose, but if you don't like, it's like, come on, what else do you want? Like, would it help if I bend the knee and clapped at the same time while doing a TikTok video?
You should do one, Billy.
And also, that was an era, that clapping was when rainbows were becoming very prominent. Every bloody house had a picture. Everyone drew a rainbow and stick it in your window. Show your appreciation to the NHS. And kids would be like with street crayons drawing these rainbows all over the bloody pavement. So everywhere you're walking around, I mean, this was like wacky dacky. Like it was like being on mushrooms. I'm walking around. I'm like, Jesus, I've got LSD in me or something. Like, I'm just seeing all these vibrant colors everywhere I'm going.
Right.
Luckily, that's kind of died down now. You don't see so many rainbows, but in terms of the impact it's left on kids, I mean, my kid is always like coloring in rainbows, and I'm saying, like, that hell has a rainbow arch going over it now.
Yes. Hey, Billy, I need to run to the restroom.
Okay.
Yeah, who 346 said, do you remember when they said they wanted 15 for flipping burgers and it was rejected? Well, they got 15 now for flipping burgers. It was part of the plan.
Here's a devious one. I heard it about Tesco, but this model can be applied to any kind of supermarket where they got a club card reward scheme thing, right? And the way their one was operating is, if you're a member and you've got this club card, you get, air quotes, like an exclusive price on the item. What they fail to tell you is that exclusive price is the same price you would find in any other store outlet, a different franchise altogether. So as an example, let's say a can of baked beans, I don't know, it's being a bit silly. So they'll give you an exclusive price on these can of baked beans for, say, I'll put it in dollars so it's easy for you guys, like for $1 a can of baked beans, exclusive price with your club card. And without club card, these baked beans would be $20. But you go to any other shop, any other franchise,
Mhm.
they $1 anyway. A can of beans is $1 anyway. So you're not saving anything. You're just paying regular retail price. And should you not have a club card, you're paying $20 for this can of baked beans. You know, like an extortionate price.
So how much is the club card though?
Well, it's free.
Oh,
But they try and make it sound as if you're saving money by having this club card, and all they're really doing is getting your data and learning your spending habits. And the customer, if they don't know what's going on, is thinking they're getting a deal. So there's a customer loyalty aspect. They'll keep returning to the shop because they think they're saving money. And should they not have the card with them, or they aren't a member of the club card, then they get penalized.
right.
So you're kind of if you want to shop there, you're kind of forced into signing up for this card and handing them your details and spending habits. Otherwise, you get punished for it.
Right.
And that's quite diabolical, lucrative, sneaky tactic
Right.
to roll out there.
Right.
Because you're not saving anything. You're paying basic retail price.
Right.
It's like, I mean, shops have done this in the past, you know, for donkey's years or whatever. You know, they'll inflate the price, like Tesla was doing it. They'll inflate the price, and then at some point it'll be like, now 20% off. And it's like, hang on, that's the same price it was before, or it's still an inflated price. It's just a bit cheaper than without that 20% deduction.
All right. Now I really have to use the restroom. I'll be right back, Billy. Wake Contriver up.
Contriver, you there?
Wake up, Contriver.
He's just keeping the room warm. Yeah, so these marketing strategies, I mean, I suppose you can't blame them for trying. You just need to be a bit more aware of them, I guess. But it becomes harder and harder to avoid because the other franchises they look at it as an example and they start to emulate it. A little bit like what's going on with the strikes. You know, a group of people see other people striking and they think, hang on, we're missing out here. We need to strike as well. And this has now become normalized and acceptable. No one will think we're being cheeky for wanting more. And, well, how far can it go? I see who's in the chat. Who asks, how is the energy thing doing in Europe? Well, I don't know about the whole of Europe. What I find a bit weird is supposedly we're meant to be having more, not necessarily infrastructure. What's the opposite of infra? You know, like windmills. We're having more windmills and solar farms. We're having more of a network being created to go green, yet somehow energy prices are going up. So how does that make sense? How can the energy prices be going up if we're supposedly using more renewable energy? I didn't realize that wind and solar and hydro cost more than the fossil fuels. At one point over here, people were threatening to stop paying their bills, but that kind of, I don't know if you want to call it like the movement, this refusal, but I don't know what happened to it. I think people are bite the bullet and rather just bitch and moan about it. I did hear that you got Shell and you got BP oil companies. I think it's BP. I might be wrong. One of those companies has decided to leave the UK because of the amount it's costing to have this energy. What does that entail? I'm not too sure. But I think it's BP, but they're out.
Really?
It's like a snowball effect. I think that's taking place over here in the UK. Like it's now it's hitting like critical mass,
Mm-hmm.
and the sinking Titanic. So it's a situation now. It's like, if you're not out of the system or off the grid, or you got some kind of plan or preparations in place, it's not looking good.
Yeah.
In terms of politics, I mean, it's complete blunder. I don't even know who the prime minister is anymore, because I can't. The amount of times people are getting sacked and changing and being questioned, it's crazy.
Yeah. Well, I've been a bit out of touch all week because I've been super busy. I know we had another police killing, I guess. Some dude in Memphis.
Yeah.
Was beat up by like 5 cops that looked like him. And somehow the feminists still were able to try to blame it on institutional racism.
Right.
I did see one video where who was doing a breakdown. Somebody was doing a breakdown, and one of these fat ass feminists were like, "Oh, black on black crime isn't a real thing, and oh, it's intern or systemic racism." I'm like, really? These crazy bitches. I don't see how they can actually believe that.
So is that going to kick off a whole bunch of new riots?
Well, we had the most peaceful protests that we had in our country. It wasn't like when the St. Floyd thing happened. It was different. I know quite a few of the major cities expected riots, but I don't think they actually happened.
People are getting too malnourished now to have riots.
Malnourished. Mm. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really know what's going on the political front in my country. So I haven't been updated in a while. I just knew about this police thing. They were going to release the body cam footage. Oh, and the Minneapolis police chief is a chick. So 5 of her subordinates caused a man's death. Which I saw, I kind of flipped through the police footage. Like they were a little aggressive, I guess, trying to detain him. But then the dude took off running. Like, he started running from the cops. So then they chased him back down and then beat his ass.
All right. Yeah. I guess you need the footage, but yeah, we've got, because we're trying to meet diversity quotas.
Right.
I saw this as a headline, so I don't know if this is very accurate or where's your evidence or whatever. But from what I gather, they're now recruiting diverse people to meet these quotas, and a large proportion of them have criminal backgrounds.
Yep.
So they're recruiting criminals to be police officers.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah, well, I don't know. I think I'd rather have a criminal be a cop than a feminist be a board member.
Well, it's kind of funny, like same source or region of information was also saying that apparently a lot of these immigrants are lying on their applications. So you've got fully grown men who are saying they're like 14 years old. They're pretending to be children. I don't know if there's some sort of advantage if you're a child, I suppose. But they're applying as children. They come into this country. I guess some of their applications get rejected and they're meant to be deported, but they don't get deported. They just disappear in the system.
Mm-hmm.
So we sadly got a out of control immigration problem currently. Although, if there's any consolation, good news, apparently, I think this year's figures are lower than last year or something like that.
Really?
But I think it's still way over the quota.
Yeah. Yeah, Texas is actually pushing a bill. I don't know how to look up. I mean, I don't know when it's supposed to be voted on or when it's going to pass, or I don't even know who brought it to the forefront, but ridding our universities of the diversity, inclusion, equity bullshit. I think it'll be a really good thing if it passes. Initiatives. Diversity, inclusion, equity initiatives. So I'm hoping for that. And I have a chief diversity officer that I want to get fired at my corporation that I'm working at. See, I don't see how they can cut the hours of workers. I don't see how they can justify doing that when those crazy bitches make 6 figures salaries.
Well, it's kind of like, I need to keep my 6-figure salary. How do I do that? I need to get rid of the workers and take their money that they would have earned.
Yeah, but that's bad for a company because if you don't have the workers.
Yeah, but they don't care about the company. They only care about themselves.
I know. That's why I want to get them fired. Or get them to quit. Something like that. Purple-haired toad lady. Yeah.
I mean, I was hearing one of the big problems that the white collar workers are having, where you've got these massively tall skyscrapers, and they're predominantly the floors or the rooms are being rented out to companies for office work. But if everyone is working from home, then a company will be like, well, there's no point renting out however many floors in this skyscraper anymore.
Hmm.
They pull out, and then you've got the owners of the skyscrapers who have no tenants because no one's renting them, but they still got a mortgage to pay.
Yep.
So you've got these empty, vacant, massive buildings,
Yeah.
and they're not too sure what to do with them.
Yeah.
Something like in London, like 35% of some kind of statistic is office work.
Hmm. I wonder if they can convert them into housing.
Oh, you're gonna love this one. Have you heard of Broadmoor or Broadmoor? Broadmoor. Yeah, it's a psychiatric. It's not a prison, but it's like maximum security, because you got the most mentally ill people kind of thing. It's quite looking at an aerial view, it's quite a big chunk of land.
Mm-hmm.
Housing, I think they just house mentally ill male patients. I suppose they're patients, but it's, from what I understand, it's looking to close down. They're building an adjacent hospital to house the inmates, and they're going to turn Broadmoor into a hotel.
What? What?
So
Don't they need that place though to lock up the crazy bitches?
that's what I would have thought. I mean, it's been around for 50 years, and now it's going to be replaced with a hospital. I don't know if the hospital's going to house them all, or they're just going to let patients roam the streets or something.
Uh-oh.
Cutbacks, but just at a time when we need more of these, really. We need more institutions.
Right.
They're going to reduce it.
Right. Uh-oh. That's not good.
And then turn them into hotels to drive, I don't know, tourism or something. Come visit the UK. Wonderful place. Lots to see.
Mm-mm. That's awful, Billy.
I was watching this documentary and I was like, I don't mind working there.
What's the Tower of Ball? That reminds me of Elspeth. She keeps saying Ball did nothing wrong. Who's Ball? I thought Ball was like Satan or something.
I don't know. It's something religious, I think.
Mm. Well, I think I might have more news in another week and see how things go. I don't know how long I'm going to be here, but at this place, I have a few more things to check out.
I suspect the more level-headed, the more composed someone is, because they give off that vibe of like confidence and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Then I don't know, unwittingly, I'll say. I was going to say like unknowing, whatever. Unwittingly, I think emotional people You know, they will want to transfer their crap onto you. They'll open up and be like, "Hey, you seem level-headed. Let me tell you about the chaos going on in my life."
Yeah. Well, but that guy specifically, he's been gaslit. Like he kept telling me shit that she'd say. You know, like pretty much. I mean, imagine an Elspeth situation. You know, like, ooh, I love you, I love you. Oh, you're a fucking piece of shit, like that kind of thing. It's a lot of that. So here the dude is fucking supporting her 3 kids, letting all of them live in one of his houses rent free. He's paying the utilities, like, yet he's a fucking piece of shit, right?
And that's the kind of parallel with Kush's experience, where work becomes, and not just work, but places like here as well, becomes a form of stability.
Mm-hmm.
Like to get away from the instability.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, to try and quell that turmoil or chaos, they bring it into places of work or places like here or wherever there is a bit of structure. You know, you hear about people like, "Hey, it's like this is like therapy in a way."
Yeah.
So they offload in part to try and self-medicate.
Well, I asked him, I was like, dude, where's your mom, by the way? Did your mom not fucking prepare you to combat crazy bitches? He's like, honestly, my mom, no, she didn't give me any crazy bitch training. He came from a very stable 2-parent household. I was like, yeah, she's probably unaware that bitches like this even exist. Like, he's like, yeah. Like, they're not very helpful as kind of a sounding board. Like, they have no idea. They just assume people are normal. Like, yeah.
That's one of the normalization of all of this is a particular challenge. That's actually one of my notes to the principal of the school.
Mm-hmm.
How do you tell a normie, particularly one who is probably one of these crazy bitches anyway? The thing is like I have to try and convince the crazy bitch that she is actually fighting the good fight, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's a good chance she'll be like, you're just being a overzealous, sort of imaginative,
Right.
crazy person. But it's like, no, this has been tracked over generations. This isn't like some new phenomenon.
Right.
This goes back way before when.
Yeah.
But we are now getting to like a crescendo of a pivotal point in its development, where the structures and society have enabled it to such an extent, like from, you know, as we know from the research, like no supply is infinite. Like
Right.
there comes a point where it breaks, and we are getting there. So as much as society might want to try and enable with its codependency, etc., it just cannot. It's the appetite of these predators is insatiable. It just cannot keep up with their hunger and their thirst.
Right.
So, which is why when we look into our crystal ball, we can see the great re cometh, because
Right.
you know what's going to happen when the addiction level gets way. It was already out of control before, but now it is just. I mean, look what happens to a person just on an individual cases. If they've got a severe addiction, it is destructive. You know, there's only so much abuse that the body or the society can take before organs start to shut down.
Right.
And you might, okay, you have an implant, then okay, all right, we'll give you a transfusion, but this isn't really fixing the problem.
Right.
This is just prolonging the agony.
Yeah.
Only until the individual or the society faces the very fears that it's trying to run away from will change actually happen.
Yeah. I think for a lot of these feminists that are really screwing stuff up, they need to put the responsibility where it lies instead of blaming everybody else for it.
Well, that's not going to really happen.
Come on, Billy. That's what I'm working on. Confessions. Crazy bitch confessions.
I mean, they'll be looking at you and be like, but that's what you're here for. You're meant to clean up my mess. You're meant to be responsible for me.
Mm-hmm.
But this is, again, is that unsustainable
Okay.
because, like, as much as even you might want to try and be responsible for them,
I'll clean it up. I'll clean it up. Here, crazy bitch. Just sign away your human rights for 30 days and we'll get you sorted out.
but it takes time to clean up a mess. But they can make a mess in a blink of an eye.
Right.
So you're always playing catch up in a way.
Mm-hmm.
You can't even. It's like trying to keep up. It's like I just cannot keep up with your craziness.
Yeah.
And on top of it is that hell-bent attitude where you could explain it to them. They could even maybe see where you're coming from and understand what you're saying and be like, yeah, you're right. I am the problem. I have been causing all this chaos in my life. And you might be thinking, oh, finally, I've reached them. I finally got through. But with this hell-bent attitude, they're going to be like, no, I'm just going to carry on, though. You're right. I am a mess. Oh, fuck it. Okay. Right. Oopsie daisy. Straight away, as soon as you tell them, like, look, you're messing things up. You're fucking things up. And they'll be like, yeah, you're right. I guess. What can I do? Well, I'm just going to fuck something up now. It's almost like you legitimize their behavior at that point.
Right. So helping educate people that are enabling these people and put that responsibility, getting them to stop.
That would be a better focus of energy, in my opinion. It's like there's nothing you can do with these hell-bent demons, but the people that enable them or allow it or accept it, or the bystanders, you got a better chance with them and hoping that they make a change, whereas the other ones are rigid because the disorder is rigid in its structure. Designed to resist wanting to change, particularly if it's change for what we would call the better. They're hell bent. It's a runaway train. They want to go up in flames. They want to go out in a blaze of glory. So I'm of the sort of thought. Now it's going to sound very mean, but it's like that's what you want. Then help them on their way.
Yeah.
The quicker they can kind of burn out, the better, probably.
Yeah.
I mean, it will be tragic and horrific, and there'll be damage, as a result. But it's probably what is needed. It's probably necessity at this point.
Yeah. Well, back to square one: how to get these guys to stop white knighting for these crazy bitches.
Yeah.
Because they're only allowed to do what people allow them to do. Like these feminists are parasites. They require a host. When the host says no more, they'll starve. So
Especially when the
Jeez,
especially
that made me jump.
especially
He
especially
woke
when
up.
the host say especially when the host says men going their own way.
Yeah. But going back to that scapegoat idea, Billy, with the being guilted and shamed into submission and taking the responsibility, that's kind of where a lot of these people are. They've been put in a position where, again, with the learned helplessness thing, like a lot of these people don't feel like they are allowed and can tell them no. And actually, that's something I got from that little talk with Pat. I think Pat Stedman. He was like, because I asked him, why, pretty much why guys won't, I guess, call out the stuff. And he said it's other guys that will get on their asses for not conforming or not submitting to the bullshit.
Yeah, like a bit of peer pressure, but
Yeah,
it's almost like a separate Pandora's box in a way.
right.
I think if we to try and put things into a better context, because it can be a bit simplistic to sort of have this view that the world has gone crazy, or the vast majority of people I know are just off their rocker or something like that. This might be a distorted way of looking at it. I mean, I'm not trying to lower the figures here,
Mhm.
but I think if we consider that there is portions, there is like the mentally deranged, off the rail group, fine, okay, but there's probably equally just as many like these Simpson White Knights, maybe more, who are unrecognized. They're unrecognized, and they themselves are unaware, and they're in this sort of they're in a jam because they got this trauma that's being inflicted upon. They're being conditioned, they're being brainwashed, they're being strung along.
Right.
They got helplessness. They don't know what to do, so they don't want to rock the boat and have that worry. So they become conformist or collectivists, and they make the situation obviously much worse. But we start seeing that their needs and wants is actually different to these predatory type of people. Now, both groups are problematic, but the way they function and the way they are made up differ.
Right.
Yeah.
One's doing it out of fear.
Yeah, out of fear.
Like the hostages, the emotional hostages. Yeah.
Yeah, we've got to kind of like reduce things down to basic core values, like primitive ways of like this is their way of like for the predators, this is their way of surviving. For these codependents, this is their way of surviving. And in a way, like we're not really exempt either. We're another portion of society who have this sort of awareness that we can kind of see what's going on. And as part of our survival, we're trying to wake up the rest of them,
Right.
to push back against these predators, because if we don't, then the predators take over and we'll be wiped out as well.
Right.
So we've also got our set of needs and desires and ways of looking at things. And I'm sure there's other portions that aren't being that I'm not mentioning that need to be like included in it. You'll have people who even if they might be in the category of a white knight or a simp or blue pilled, but even if you did wake them up, they still wouldn't have the skill set to turn their lives around.
Right.
Like, so you might, if you try and wake them up, you hear sometimes, some people shouldn't be unplugged from the matrix because it'll kill them. So these
Right.
people, in a way, to try and differentiate who it is you're going to enlighten and unplug is dicey, because if you're not careful, instead of helping them, you might send them into psychosis. So we really do need
I don't know, Billy. I have less patience for the I don't know. Maybe because I'm a woman, I see how much easier it is. Maybe because I have it easier because I'm a woman. I don't get the kind of pushback that men do in our society. I do get that.
We get fortunately, like, those who have the awareness will come to a realization that, yeah, it is in a way quite simplistic.
Mm-hmm.
We can have these long talks and deep dives, but it all comes down to basically, well, then no contact is the answer.
Yes.
Or MGTOW is the answer. Very simplistic.
Yeah.
And we can save ourselves having these conversations, but to get to that point of simplicity, you need to have an understanding of the complexities. Otherwise, the simplicity will have no meaning.
Right.
Like if I just said, if you had no idea what MGTOW meant, or you had no idea what it means to go no contact, you'd be like, I hear this advice, I hear what I should do, but I don't know why I'm doing it. Why is that the answer? So that's why in part we have these big conversations, is to explain why it is we come to this focal point of like, look, this is, so with all that is being said, the bottom line is no.
Mm-hmm. And if you don't say no, they're going to kill you.
Yeah.
Because they want you dead. Now, they want to, yeah.
But this is the problem that, because you're saying that you don't have the patience to want to sit down and explain this to someone who is still plugged in the matrix and blue holding on.
No, I don't. That might have came out wrong. I don't have the patience to go through it really slow. I'm a rip the Band-Aid off kind of person.
No, yeah, I get that. I mean,
yeah,
that's one of the prices to pay, though. It's like, if we want people to really understand why it is, we can simplify it to just say no, either no contact or no marriage, no cohabitation, no kids, go MGTOW. It's going to require time, energy, patience, resources, support. Because like for you and I and Contriver and those in the chat, like we're kind of we train ourselves to be familiar with having this Band-Aid ripped off. We know things are going to be painful, so we can turn around to someone and say like, hey, you've been somewhat of a cuck recently. I hope you realize that. The situation is you white knighting. Now they might push back at first, but eventually, hopefully not too long, they might come to a realization like, you know what, you were right, and I'm a big boy now and I can take it. Thank you for telling me that. I'm sorry we had fallen out in the past, sort of thing. So that's great. They kind of manage to step out of the situation, or step up beside they're beside themselves, or whatever. They manage to get perspective on what's going on, and with some honesty and some dignity and things like this, they fessed up and were like, yeah, you're right, I have been a dickhead, I'm sorry about that. But for other people, particularly more mainstream, who are in the matrix and blue pilled and heavily still entrenched in it, you can't really, you would like to get them to that point, and maybe in some cases you can sort of slap them silly and or slap some sense into them, but typically I think we will find it's almost like you have to really convince them. That you have to kind of you got to sell them this so-called like new narrative, which isn't really Now it's reality. You have to sell them. You have to sell them. They've been
Fucking
sold.
reality.
They've been sold. They've been sold a false promise. They've been sold a fantasy.
Yeah.
And the only way to kind of break this with this sort of mindset is to outsell reality to them. You have to make reality more appealing somehow than the fantasy that they've already purchased into.
See, and I can the only way that I thought of to accomplish that is if the fantasy had some serious legal consequences. Like serious. Because I mean, how else are you gonna sell it?
Well,
Besides, like, hey,
it-
you know, if you don't deal with reality, you're going to jail. You might go, you might lose your house. You know, all this other stuff.
but
Like,
it does
you'll get locked up for the crimes against humanity that you've been perpetuating. Like,
Yeah, I mean, it might not get to the extent of being locked up or criminality, but the potential. I mean, it does have consequences. It does have
Yeah.
ramifications. But the thing is, it's far away in the distance.
mm,
Because obviously, like you live your life in a fantasy, in a delusion. Of course,
Mhm.
it's going to have a consequence. It's going to have a detriment on. You're not going to be able to function because at the end of the day, you still need to function in reality. And how are you going to do that if your head's in the clouds and you're living a fantasy all your life?
right.
But at that point where that sort of realization comes along, you might be too far gone, and that's why I'm saying, like, for some people, maybe they can't be unplugged. It's better that they live in this delusional state then.
Yeah. Well, I think I've done my unplugging as far as like when I first went around to all the places to, you know, try to wake people up. There were a lot of people that took longer to snap into reality.
Yeah, I mean, usually, like, if someone is, especially if there is no disruption to this fantasy, everything is still tickety boo, working okay for them, then there's no reason why they will allow themselves to be sold reality. To them, they think your reality is a fantasy, and they think it's the other way around.
Right.
So,
But these people that live in these fantasies, they don't seem like everything's going okay at all.
no,
I mean, it is
They're
make
trying to make
believe.
it work.
but yeah, and it's that denial. They're like, no, I'm fine, I'm cool. Yeah, it's make believe, and
They,
It is
they have
make
hope
believe.
it's gonna get better in this
right, and that as
fantasy.
well. Yeah,
Yeah.
but
Ultimately,
oh,
can
yeah,
I
sorry, go ahead.
chime in on this one
Yeah,
because
Mhm.
I would love to. The thing is, people don't realize that this is a zero sum game. So what happens in a zero sum game? You lose. And the biggest red pill, black pill, Zen pill, whatever pills we go through, the biggest pill is that we cannot save everyone, even whom we love. Even they would be harmless, down to earth, hard working, genuine people. We cannot save all of them. And once that realization kicks in, that is the stage when, oh boy, you would cry in your cups just like I have, and realize that it is not worth a hassle. And once people realize that, they would be able to actually maneuver, at least for themselves. Because at the end of the day, even in the field of psychology, one thing is being taught is that if a mother and her infant child is drowning, for the first 30 seconds, she would try to save the child, and in the next 30 seconds, she would try to drown her own child so that she could be saved. It is a matter
Mhm.
of survival. Most people do not understand this on a very basic level because, and this is why I have always been fascinated, though not equally equipped, to actually be able to comprehend and understand the psychological jargon per se, but I have been interested in psychology because people could use anything as a tool, as a weapon.
Hmm.
So they could use judiciary and legal procedures as a tool. They could use anything else as a tool. And this is why I think that the field of psychology is important for men in general to understand their own self better than anybody else. Because ultimately, you have to be your own psychotherapist, you have to be your own armchair therapist.
Definitely.
Nobody is going to help you. And there are seldom at times people like good mother who would genuinely go against the flow and try to help you, and even then either their help would be negated, delegitimized, or not made mainstream so that people would be able to get benefits out of it. People would be able to reap benefits out of it. The reason being, and I would tell you why, because then the profession would lose its glamour. The profession of a therapist, armchair
But
therapist, and all these people, it would lose its glamour, because if you would genuinely start helping other people, boy oh boy, I
yeah,
mean,
but
that is
King
a whole
Trevor,
different ball game. Yes.
yeah, but they just recently got the government to add psychology to the STEM field. That
Oh yes, I know that.
yeah, we have individual therapists or whatever, and they're doing a terrible job at, helping the mental health of our society. But the people with the psychology degrees that are in all the corporations, like even the ones that work at YouTube, are responsible for allowing people's free speech. Like, they're responsible for dictating what's harmful to type or say, like in community guidelines. Like these crazy
Yes,
bitches.
I would
Hold
tell
on,
you
I'm gonna
what
get some
is.
tea. I'm still listening
Okay,
though, okay?
okay, okay. Let me say this, and this is a big hypothesis on my part. The thing is, women are saying that they are actually learning how to maneuver as a man, and that is why they are learning. So even if they cannot learn difficult subjects or calculus or things like permutations and combinations, what they would do is they would make it simpler for the rest of the benighted heathen, i.e., all women in general. So, by doing that, they would be able to give tidbits to other women, and by that logic, they would be able to learn as to what is being a man. And it is a very slow process, as KGB defector Yuri Bezmenov also said, that even if you start today, right now, right here, this minute, it would still take 20 to 25 years to actually, uh, you know, prepare another generation of American students who would be all about American patriotism and nationalism. USA all the way. And this is what he said in the 80s. I'm only saying that even that chap, even despite the adversities against him, he knew something which we didn't. And the fact of the matter is, we still, I don't know whose quote it was, But who was the person, Billy, who said that one of the delightful things about human history is that we have learned nothing from it?
Um, I don't know who said that, but that's a similar one. Is the those who forget history are condemned to repeat it. A little bit in the same
Yes,
vein.
yes, but have we learned anything from the history so far? I don't think so.
No, they're trying to rewrite history. If anything,
No, I mean, they are trying to rewrite history to the detriment of the society, and we
yeah.
have we have been silent and kept mum about it, twiddling thumbs all the way. So it is our mistake as well that we did not uh, try to assess who is a Marxist amongst us. I still watch the videos of KGB defector Yuri Bezmenov, and he still surprises me. Just like he said that most of it is done by Americans to Americans, thanks
Hmm.
to their lack of moral standards. And when
Yeah.
he said that this is not Comrade Andropov and all his Soviet assassins being done by Americans to Americans. And when he
Hmm.
said that, I was taken aback because it is the only way you could do that. And I was watching a movie or a show somewhere, I don't know, and the quote came, and the quote read like a civilization cannot be invaded unless and until it is weakened from the inside. It has been weakened from the inside. Then and only then an invasion is possible. Otherwise, no. And
But that's
sim
how the contriver. That's how the feminists invade all these spaces, and that's how they
exactly.
invade the men. Is they weaken them from the inside. They prey on their emotions.
Okay, so now I have to go into. I have to veer off from psychology and a little bit and go towards anthropology. Do you
Wait
know
before
something
before you
called?
wait, sorry, Contriver.
Yeah.
Before you do, I'm gonna have to head off in a minute.
Okay.
Okay,
Thanks,
I'll,
Billy.
I'll probably say my byes now. Yeah. Okay.
it's fine.
Thanks, Mandy. Contriver, we need to catch up again because I feel like it's been ages since we've had a chat.
Oh, sure, sure, surely.
It's great hearing from
Uh,
you, and I hope you're doing
yes.
well.
Yeah.
Okay, take
Thank
care.
you,
See
sir.
you later.
Thank you.
Thanks, Billy. And see you later.
So the
Anthropology.
curse, anthropology.
Hmm.
So the curse of the canine is about, shall we say, the curse of the canine is about. Okay, have you ever heard the term curse of canine? Canine basically is a dog,
Yeah.
wolf, and their
Yeah.
descendants. So, curse of the canine is all about uh, being a man, and the curse of being a man. And the curse of being a man is all about a man who is led by his biological imperative.
Yes. Which
We,
women are weaponizing against them currently.
in fact, to the extent that even homosexual men would try to defend a woman, even physically,
Yeah.
even though they would be effeminate or emasculated enough, they would still try to do that. Why is that? Because that is the biological imperative of a man, and
Yes.
that is called as the curse of canine, and it is that strong. It is the thing which makes or breaks a civilization. And that is why it is very important. The prime importance should be given to teach boys how to harness that sort of superpower.
Yeah, but like the gentleman I was referring to earlier, um, he didn't know the kind of predators that were out there that he could get caught up with. Like his parents didn't ready him for those kind of tribulations. We'll just call it like
Well, those
he,
tribulations in the Chinese sense mean a thunderstorm
hmm
or a lightning striking the ground, and not only striking the ground, it is striking you per se
hmm
on the ground,
yeah,
and that is how you attain profound wisdom. I mean, in the Eastern philosophies, it is just like that. So, the tribulations, in fact, are just like that, that it shakes you to your very core.
yeah,
But what you are led by is your will to survive. And that cannot be taken away from a human being. So, instead of, just like Socrates used to say, the definition of change is not feeding to the monster inside you who has been destroying you from within. The path to change actually is all about focusing your energy on building a new one instead of you know directing your resources and energy towards feeding the old one, which is a broken structure.
yeah,
And these are the things which you could tell a man or a boy when you are within the premises or otherwise off the record, and this is something which would always come in handy towards people.
yeah.
Oh yes, that was George Hegel. I forgot. I forgot. Here is Lord Jeremy correcting me. Pardon my ignorance.
Yeah. Well, I have one more night before I have 2 days off. So my nights off are going to be Tuesday and Wednesday.
Well, it is fine. You are working, and I am very happy for you. Everyone in the community is very happy for you. Not because we are only using you as a weapon, that is a given. But we
You're
are
right.
happy that you are also, but we are also happy of the fact that you are our friend, a friend of the MGTOW community, and you shall always be. Let
Yeah.
us no mince no words. You are my co host. You shall always be my co host, as well as of Bullets and other people like Mr. Iridium Kush, who are literally the stalwarts in the MGTOW community. I'm nobody who comes close to them. So I want to learn from you. I want to learn from Mr. Kush as well as Mr. Bullets, as well as I have actually started uploading videos of Man, Woman, and a Myth, the very first who started talking about these things online, and that too in
Hmm.
the late 2000s. In the late 2000s, he was the first, and that is why I feel so sorry for that man, not because of the work that he has done, that when he realized that there is no way that men could uh, outmaneuver or outsmart the system of these draconian laws that have been put in place,
Yeah.
He committed suicide by shooting a bullet in his own head. And unfortunately, I wish he would have died that day. He did not die. He's still here. And he has uh, the IQ level of a 7-year old.
Mm.
So whenever I see him, whenever I listen about him, I get very emotional because this is a man to whom we look up to.
Right.
You are a woman whom we look up to. Okay, and this is nothing about having some romantic feelings for you, but genuinely
Right.
loving you as an individual person.
Yeah.
This is our community. This is us, and you are carrying the message. This is now you are bearing the cross. We are not. We are already damaged goods. Good
Yeah.
morning.
I know.
So whatever little or whatever big impact you might be having, we shall be grateful towards that. You are doing something. I mean,
Yeah.
something is always better than nothing.
I'm trying to come up with the prescription how to rid these corporations of their HR diversity officers. I don't know how I'm going to do it yet. There,
HR
there's there's
actually,
there's a list of different things that she works on that have nothing to do with work. It's like she gets paid company money to organize a bunch of bullshit, and it's voluntary. What did what did this thing say? Hold on, let me pull it up so I can get it verbatim. Where is it? Yeah, let's see. Business resource groups launched in 2019 for all associates to participate in fostering an inclusive culture. These groups help us learn more about each other and about our customers.
I would tell you
Surveys.
this. Uh, did you
Uh,
hear about that?
I encourage you to consider joining our business resource groups and attending our events as we continue to foster inclusion across all. Are you in? Question mark. Hell yeah, I'm in.
Uh, I would tell you what uh, my friend has done. And he
Hmm.
is a corrupt person, by the way. Corrupt
Oh,
to the core.
really? Really?
Yes. He has nothing called morality in this world.
Oh, and he's your friend?
Yeah. Oh, yes. Because I learned how vicious the rest of the world is from him.
Really?
Really, regarding my profession and being you know, in the finance department and, sharing advisories with the others.
Yeah.
In India, you incorporate a company, get it attested with the registrar of the companies under the Companies Act,
Mm-hmm.
and not the company but NGO. You make an NGO. We are working for empowerment of women. And then
Right.
there is something called corporate social responsibility,
Mm.
CSR, in which the government of India issues some funds. Big corporations like Facebook, Google, etc., they have
Right.
their headquarters here in India right now. They also issue some funds, and you just have to show uh, all men are running all these NGOs about female empowerment. And what they do is they set up, uh, 25 to 30 computers, benches, this, that, and the other. We are, empowering women via making them learn about computers. We
Mhm.
are empowering women via making them learn how to make jute bags or ropes or some of these handicraft skills which women had for thousands of years. So,
Yeah.
I mean, if the unique selling proposition, you just have to add the word vagina to
Right.
anything and empowerment, and you
Right.
would be making millions. He is now driving a four-cylinder SUV in 1 year via misappropriation of funds, which he is doing, and he is very open and candid with me about it since he's my friend.
Mm.
And he says, to hell with women empowerment. I'm empowering myself.
Right.
And today I think that everyone should be like him. Why? Because he is making money, he is making a buck out of the genuine donations with whichever he would be receiving from some foreign NGOs overseas, and he is doing nothing but just giving some computer training education to a bunch of women who already are on Facebook, who are attending it just because they think it is some sort of a kitty party,
Right.
and they do nothing. So he is happy. The vaginas are happy. It is just like a witch cackling hen house over there,
Right.
and that's it.
Mm.
Everybody is happy. We are achieving something. We are empowering women. It is just a sham, just like
Yeah.
everything was since its inception. It is just that apart from all these colorful and fancy epithets, we have never understood as to what it was. It was the biggest scam in history
Yeah.
after love, I would say. And
Right.
he tells me stories that I have scammed this person, I have scammed that person. And he says, I didn't do anything wrong. I just made a buck out of it. And he is not
Right.
wrong. If everyone is being immoral, if everyone is being uh, not disloyal, then why the hell do I have to be moral and have the moral high ground all the time? I mean, a person should not be an ideologist. He should not stick to his ideology in this day and age. I'm not talking about the historical aspect of it, but unfortunately I am also uh, I have my own moral values, a set of them, as well as I have my own ideology, and that is not to charge a man an arm and a leg. And that is why. But if things would had been different, I would rather would had been like that man whom I revere because he's pretty much open about everything.
Hmm.
Instead of being some sort of a conniving, wicked sort of a Shylock.
Right. Hmm.
So that is the moral turpitude I have at times.
Right. Yeah,
So
I'm gonna have to think about that. I mean, because I do
sure.
appreciate anytime a man is able to capitalize off of the plantation, so to speak, and like siphon some of that money that they get.
I mean, this is not even siphoning. This is basically offshoring as well as
Oh,
embezzlement.
oh,
Embezzlement of funds. Yes, misappropriation. A
Right.
polite word would be misappropriation of funds.
Yeah. Well, Contriver, is there anything else that you would like to touch base on? Because I'm getting sleepy.
No, no, let's sleep.
Yeah? Okay.
Yes. And broadcast. Thanks a lot, ladies and gentlemen, for being here. And we
Yeah.
wish that we would be getting your further guidance and assistance and support in any way possible. Thank you.
Goodbye, everybody. McTow forever. Lord Jeremy, thanks for contributing. JR, good to see you. Pablos, 1920, good to see you. Oh, and who? 346. Oh, and TVM. Yes, I got your message also. And definitely touch base with you after I wake up. Good night, Billy. See y'all later.